Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. We're going to be focusing on Lego Education STEAM Park. I'm just going to give a little bit of an introduction about myself while we wait and see if there's a few more stragglers that are going to be jumping on. We have 41 people registered for this webinar, and there's only oh, there's more than I realized. I need to expand this window here. All right. 1, 2. Okay, so there's 12 of you here joining us today. So thank you very much for taking the time. All right, so just a few things. I do have 2 screens open up here. So if you do notice that I am looking away from the camera to the left here, that's so I can engage with all of you on the chat. So make sure you have your chat feature open. You can jump in there and ask questions at any time, and I will take a break. You're welcome to interrupt me so I can take a break and answer questions at any time. I also think that we're still we're a small enough group that if you do want to come off mute and ask questions as well, please feel free to do that. I do prefer to keep my sessions more on the casual side, and I want to make sure that I am answering any questions that you guys have along the way, and making sure that the presentation is kind of going in a direction that benefits all of you. After all, that's why I'm here. I am here to present Lego STEAM Park to you guys. So my name is Kristen Mogg. I recently got married, so Kristen Rutke now, but I'm keeping my last name professionally. I have worked with Spectrum now for 15 years it's been. Had to think about that for a second. So I've been with Spectrum for 15 years. I've been doing the same sales job that I do right now for the last 10 years for Spectrum. So my role at Spectrum is I look after technology in Ontario and Nova Scotia. I specialize in Lego Education, and we are the Canadian dealer for Lego Education. So I am one of 3 Lego Academy certified trainers here in Canada. Before the pandemic, I used to travel quite frequently to support my regional team. We have reps in BC, Alberta. We have a Manitoba/Saskatchewan rep as well. We have an office in Quebec. And then like I mentioned, I look after Nova Scotia, and we look after the Maritimes out of our head office in Ontario. What I love most probably about my job is the indirect impact that I have on student education and learning. I love that I get to interact with teachers and educators, as well as I've done projects with school boards, as well as the Ministry of Education before. And what I love the most is that I know that the work that I am doing and I'm very passionate about is ultimately impacting students at the end of the day. So that's just a little bit about me. We are doing a Lego webinar series. So we are offering 2 Lego webinars a month. Usually they are on Wednesdays, mostly because that's what works best for my schedule, but we are going to be looking at offering different days, different times to be able to accommodate people. All of our webinars are recorded and are available to be viewed at a later date on our YouTube channel. So just to let you know, we're all being recorded here today. And what else can I tell you? Oh, the webinars. So it's possible that you've seen me on one of my webinars before. This is my 4th one, I think. And every 2 weeks, it's a different topic. We are also looking at partnering with teachers or educators who are interested in doing webinars for us as well. So if that is something that interests you, it doesn't have to be Lego, it doesn't have to be technology, but if you're looking to kind of offer some type of free professional development or education to your peers across the country, we would love to help support you do that using our audience. So we have an audience of over 20,000 teachers. You guys are obviously a part of that audience. That's how you found out about our webinar today. So you can find all of the webinars on our website. It's spectrum-nasco.ca under, I can show you here on my screen. So spectrum-nasco.ca under Spectrum Educates and upcoming webinars. So we are just finishing up our April webinars, and you will see the May webinars are going to be posted in the next few days or so. So keep an eye out there. So I just want to get an idea of, the audience that's with us today. Who has used Lego education products before? Feel free to just drop your response in the chat. If you've ever used any Lego education products before, and that can be in your personal life, that could be in your professional life, doesn't really matter. Just wanted to know what your experience level is like. Okay, we got some robotics users, great, some NXT and EV3. Lego blocks, yep, just the blocks in kindergarten, perfect. A little bit with Mindstorm, so some robotics people here, that's great, okay. That just gives me an idea of what your previous level of experience is, but what's great about Lego is there's really no previous experience required. I mean, it's always nice to have. You'll be able to see a lot of consistencies between the different product lines if you have used other Lego education products before, but it's absolutely not necessary. Yeah, some people just don't have the experience, and that's fine. So I'm going to try and give you a little bit of a look at Lego Education STEAM Park. It is a product that is geared for kind of the preschool, kindergarten market. It actually uses the Lego Duplo platform, so the bigger blocks. And that just is because of the age group. We're mindful of their fine motor skills and the fact that, they need the little bit of the bigger pieces. So STEAM Park is a product that really lends itself to students' natural curiosity and their desire to create, explore, and investigate through play. So that's kind of Lego's mantra is, they like to support learning through play. And then that way the students are engaged and ultimately they just think that they're playing. They don't even really understand all the learning that is going on behind this kind of play scenario. So the idea is that we really want to encourage and nurture that natural curiosity. So we want to be asking open-ended questions and things throughout. So this platform, the name lends itself, STEAM Park. So it's a science, technology, engineering, art, and math product. And the reason why it's considered a STEAM product is a lot of the lesson plans have a lot of cross-curricular applications to them, and you're gonna see that. So the first part of the webinar today, I want to take you through some of the resources and show you where they are. You can follow along if you wish. In the chat, I have put the website that I'm going to be viewing these resources on. So it's education.lego.com for the resources. You don't need to have the product, the physical product itself, to be able to view the resources, and maybe even take some inspiration from the resources that you could directly use in your classroom, just with standard either Lego bricks or Duplo bricks. So I'm on the website now on the home page, and where we're going to be looking at resources. So have a look at the resource tab. We're just going to go all resources. Then we're going to go to the resource library, and the library is organized either by feature product, whether it's an early learning product, primary, secondary, or retired. So as you'll see, there's lots of different Lego Duplo products out there, or kits out there that lend themselves to the early learning. We're going to be looking at STEAM Park. So in true Lego education fashion, they have created some teacher's guides in multiple different languages. This is extremely beneficial because if you're unsure of where to start when you purchase the kit, these really help. So they're very easy. They're PDFs that you can download. I encourage you to actually print them and have them in a binder just for easy access. Then you don't always have to rely on the digital resources if you wanted to print them. So this kit, who it's for, what it's for, and how to use it are kind of the three big things. So let me just zoom in here. It's hard for me to read, so small. So throughout the different lessons, the kids are going to explore the world around them. So a lot of the lessons tie into these real world experiences. Using the teacher's guide, we can facilitate the exciting lessons and have our children learn to think like scientists as they build different models and experiment and test their ideas. So some of these are more guided projects, and others are a lot more open-ended that allow for the creativity and that kind of engineering component. Throughout the lessons, there are recommended questions that you can pose at different times within the lesson plan to make sure that your students are aware of the learning that is going on behind this play that they're doing. So the different learning objectives are met through these questions that we're going to be asking throughout each of the lessons, as well as there are assessment pieces that go with each lesson. I'm going to show you one of the assessment pieces for one of the lesson that I have selected to show you guys today. And each lesson has different assessment. There's also individual assessment, peer assessment that goes along with these. And really that's just assigning an understanding level to a different colored brick and have your students say whether they're, if they're struggling, maybe it's a yellow. If they kind of understand, it's a red. If they really understand it, it's a green. And if they understand it enough to explain it to a friend, it's a blue. So you can kind of assign your own rating system that way to get a gauge from your students individually about how they're understanding, or they can actually evaluate their friend as well, or a partner. This product, ideally, if it can be used in pairs, that is kind of the ideal scenario. But I recognize that with budgets and especially with the pandemic that's going on, you know, sometimes working in pairs isn't ideal. So either they could work individually, there's nothing wrong with that. But the product is also capable of accommodating up to 6 students at a time. It is a very large set. might be hard to see, but just up here behind me, I do have the big box, and the box is like full to the point of almost overflowing with pieces. I can give you a little bit of a close-up of that later on if you'd like. It is a very large set with 295 pieces. So all of LEGO's lesson structures are set up the same way. They call them the 4 C's, the 4C approach. And all that is connect, construct, contemplate, and continue. So connecting it to a story or a real world problem that's happening. The construct is the actual hands-on building of the activity using the activity cards. Contemplate is where they're going to reflect on what they've done. We're going to ask them questions and have them share their insights about how they felt that activity went, or what was successful, what wasn't successful. And then the continue is offering them kind of new challenges in the building phase. So allowing them to take their building to the next level. So I'm going to give you some examples of how you can continue different lessons. All of the kits have a learning grid that they're associated with. So they take the different lessons and plot them against different learning concepts. Typically, because LEGO education is based in the US, most of these grids are based on Common Core or Next Generation Science standards. However, that being said, a lot of the curriculum can very easily be aligned with either your Ontario curriculum or your provincial curriculum for wherever you're from. So for example, a lesson on probability would very easily still fit into our Ontario curriculum. There's lots of different learning outcomes that can be met. So the idea is that students are going to become familiar with the different functional elements in the set. There are some unique elements in this kit that allows it to be beneficial for not only this age group, but obviously for the lessons that are dedicated to this kit. It's going to allow them to not only construct models that are exactly the same as the images shown, but it's also going to provide them with enough pieces that will allow them to create or add on to their existing builds, or take a problem and come up with a completely different solution for it. So this teacher's guide here kind of goes over that whole introduction, the getting started. There is an appendix as well that is going to help you identify keywords that you want to be using or defining for the students, as well as certain terminology that you can introduce. So there's a whole vocabulary section. So welcome to STEAM Park. The vocabulary section for this getting started activity is rides and attractions. So you would incorporate that. This getting started is actually a specific lesson. So it provides you with a story. So this would be the connect section, and you can, some asking children if they've ever been to an amusement park or a carnival. Then there's the construct phase. So you can actually save time. This is a pro tip: save time by pre-sorting the bricks for each model. So like I said, this is a very, very large set. So you may want to pull out specific pieces that you're going to be using to avoid distraction. Then there's the contemplate as well, so asking questions and considering what's been going on. So what do you call the model that you've built? What do people do when they visit the place that you've built? And then the continue section. So that's just a sample lesson there. And they give you written instructions for each of the sample lessons within this teacher's guide, but I'm also going to show you another point online where you can access digital versions of these exact same lesson plans. So the lesson that we're actually going to look at a little bit later on today is the ramps lesson. Let me just go to the bottom here. So I just skipped over all the lessons. I'll leave that for if you want to go and explore them further. So it talks about some functional elements within the kit towards the back of the teacher's guide. So some of these functional elements, this is just an inspirational photo of how you can combine some of the different elements to make these very simple models. So you attach the windows to the window frame. You would attach the pulley system to the axle point here so you could secure it, creating this type of switch. We always name our characters with Lego Education. So there's Parker, there's Matt, there's Artie, there's Miss Ingalls, there's Teresa, and there's Sienna. So when those lesson plan stories are told, they are all about these different characters. So your students are going to get to know the different characters by name. And then here are some of the templates that you would be required depending on the lesson, with some different worksheets that you could reproduce for your students as well. Some sample builds or some inspirational photos for specific lessons. And these will start to make more sense when we take a deeper look at some of the lessons from a digital aspect. So pretty much everything you need is kind of handy right in this one teacher's guide. So now I'm just going to go back to the website exactly where I was. So there's actually a second teacher's guide. This one's a little bit more condensed, less information, kind of lends itself to just giving you some inspiration or some ideas about how you could take things one step further. This is the maker lesson plans. And what I really like, it does give you some lessons, but what I really like about it is towards the end, where are they? Let me just get to the end. It gives you some very simple kind of like 1 to 2 sentence, and they call them maker briefs. So using the maker design process, try out 1 or more of these lessons. So the thinking hat, make a wearable inventor hat, a hat that helps you and everyone else coming up with great ideas. My dream car, make the car of your dreams. What will make your car special and fun? Maybe it has a special feature or can drive all by itself. How is it powered? So even though there are no motorized or powered components to this kit, a lot of it is kind of encouraging the use of imagination, and they can do some kind of creative thinking surrounding their builds or their designs. So back to the website again. So STEAM Park lesson plans. So this is where the more in-depth digital lessons are, and they take you through each of them step by step. So let's have a look at lesson 2. Welcome to STEAM Park. So the objective of this lesson is to familiarize students with the STEAM Park set and its characters. Ask the children if they have ever been to an amusement park or a carnival, and discuss the things that you can see and do at an amusement park. So has anyone never been to an amusement park or a carnival? If you've never had this experience before, drop a little comment in the chat. Hopefully everyone's had that experience. But it's possible that at this age, this young age, that maybe they don't, which is why this connect and sharing is so important, so that they can hear what their peers have experienced, and we can show them either images or videos that are going to help make that connection for them. So show the children the photo of the STEAM Park characters and tell them that you are going to read a story about these characters who takes care of a special place called STEAM Park. STEAM Park is a place where children and adults have great adventures. They play games. Yes, it is available in French, Christina. STEAM Park is a place where children and adults have great adventures. They play games, go on rides, watch interesting shows, and eat tasty foods. Parker, the park manager, wants all the visitors to have a fun time. Making sure this special park is running well takes lots of work. Fortunately, Parker has some good friends to help him. So then it goes on and introduces each of the characters. So I'm not going to read you the whole story. But ultimately, we're going to tell the children that Parker needs their help. So, hey guys, Parker needs your help. There's been a terrible storm and it's knocked down all of the rides, the games, and the food stands in STEAM Park. And Parker needs your help to rebuild it. Ask the children if they're willing to help. So if I were to ask you to build something that is that you would find at an amusement park or a carnival, what would you want to build? Drop your answer in the chat, please. If you could build anything that is in an amusement park, what would you want to build? Let me know in the chat. A pizza. Someone's hungry. A roller coaster, yeah, that's a good one. A tilt-a-whirl. Good answers, guys. Game booth, yep. What would I want to build? Roller coaster, yep. What about bumper cars? I'm gonna add that one, bumper cars. Okay, that's good. So at this point, you give the students the inbox building inspiration card. So within a lazy river, that's a good one. I haven't been to Canada's Wonderland in a long time. I totally forgot they have a lazy river. So in the kit, there are these inspirational building cards. They're double-sided. I'm just gonna hold them up to my camera and try and show you. We've got like a teeter-totter, kind of like a boat. We've got just a generic playground with a slide and a ball. We've got a swing. It looks like some type of spinning top. Lots of different ones. So there's all sorts of different cards. So give each child one of the inbox building inspiration cards and ask him or her to build the model shown. So at this point, all the students would have some time to construct and build. They can either build exactly what they see in the image, or they could build something similar. There's enough pieces for everyone to be building at the same time, which is so great for this set. And then to make sure that they are engaged and on task, have them kind of circulate around your classroom and ask some questions and have them consider what the answers would be. Or you could do it as kind of like a show and tell, and you could have the students all take turns telling the entire class or another group about the models that they have built. So what do you call the model you've built? So you would name it. So you could give it a really fun name. What do people do when they visit the place that you have built? So an example of that would be, the lazy river. So if they created some type of lazy river, we'd want to explain that, everyone lines up and they would get a giant inflatable donut that they would then put into the river, and they would get to, they would sit in their donut and float and kind of just casually float down this winding stream of water. And then what could you do to make it more fun for visitors? So if we were to use the lazy river example, what could we do to make a lazy river more fun for our visitors? Let me know in the chat. So Kayla, who recommended the Pete's Pizza, she said she would call hers House of Pizza. And she's letting us know that you can order different types of pizza and you can eat there. And if to make it more fun, she would add pizza-like plates, pizza-like water bottles, and pizza-like cashiers. That's fun. I like that. So what are we gonna call our lazy river? Yeah, we can add a waterfall, okay. The kids probably like the sound of that better than the actual action of that. Perfect for a Duplo model. Include some slides and some different turns and twists. I don't know, maybe we could add some umbrellas to our inflatable donuts that we're floating around on, right? It is a lazy river. We want to protect ourselves from the sun, so I might add an umbrella to our floaty. Great, thanks guys. So then the continue phase. So ask the children to improve the places that they have built or add new places to the park. Encourage them to role play with the figures and ask figurines. Consider asking questions like, what's your favorite place in the park? What could you add to give guests a better experience? So, and then some of the things to note throughout this is they're using technology. It kind of depends what model they end up building, but some of the students are going to be using simple gears and wheels in appropriate ways. They're going to be observing and describing what's been happening, and they're also going to be role playing using the different figures. And then something I kind of glazed over, if you go back to the top of the lesson, there's a teacher support box on the side. So it offers some key objectives, things that you will need. In most cases, you will only need the STEAM Park set. In a few other of the lesson plans, you may require some additional materials, but those additional materials are fairly standard items that you would find in your classroom anyway. So like tape and scissors. One of them requires a container with a little bit of water because they're going to be making these boats, so then they can actually test their boats, which is fun. So that's just a few examples. Additional resources. So I already showed you the teacher's guide. So this is going to look very familiar to you, hopefully. But in the additional resources, if you click on any of these, it will take you to just those pages within the teacher's guide. So if I wanted to just look at the learning grid, it's going to show me the learning grid for getting started. Welcome to STEAM Park. The use of technology with the simple gears and wheels. Also for observe and describe what's happening and role playing. The preschool learning wheel is also helps them to develop important skills. So if you want to look at any of those resources, they are kind of quick linked right there. And then there's also educational standards. So children are able to, and it just lists them there. So I am actually just going to go back so I can see the rest of the lessons, and I'm going to go back one more time. We did have a question about if the teacher's guides were available in French. So yeah, they are. They are right here. If you wanted to take a look at them in French, that's available. I'm just going to go back and show you some of the other resources that are available. So we looked at the lessons, and we are going to return, and we're actually going to take a look at another lesson, and I do have one just built off screen here that I'm going to show you guys. There's this getting started card, and again, you can download them in different languages. So this is just a simple card that lends itself to kind of the primary learning values. So explore movement and motion, explore cause and effect, explore estimations and measurements, explore spatial awareness and mapping, explore role play, self-expression, and creativity. So those are kind of the 5 aspects of, you know, some of the primary learning values that you can expect to get from this set. There's a little mini workshop kit where you can essentially just use a few of the components from the STEAM Park set if you wanted to just do kind of like some mini activities. So you can download and take a look at the workshop kit. So this is a great introductory activity if you've never used STEAM Park or any LEGO education products before. There is a library of different videos. So these videos are meant to kind of just give an overall viewpoint of the kit, as well as tying in some of the lesson plans to real world experiences. So I used the boat example for needing a container and water for one of those activities. There is a little video all about boats. It's like in little animation. I'm going to play it. So that one is just showing 2 different ways that we could be using our boats in the STEAM Park set. So we could use them in kind of that lazy river scenario and talk about buoyancy and why certain things float and others don't. And kind of some factors there and that cause and effect. And we can also be using the boats as a type of swinging device and a way to carry ourselves. So there's different videos there. Then under downloads, there are these building inspirational cards. So all these is if for whatever reason you have lost or misplaced or they've become damaged, the inspirational cards that come in the STEAM Park set. So if you've lost them or you don't have them, they have made them available to you, so that you can either print or view them online. So these kits do come printed, but they're also available digitally. And there's the 8 cards there. Okay, so without further ado, I'm going to get into the lesson that I've actually built and queued up to kind of show you guys. I'm going to be treating it like a lesson. So I'm going to be your teacher and you guys are going to be my students. So I'm going to have some questions that I'm going to be asking you along the way. And when I'm asking questions, you can either come off mute if you prefer and just jump in and answer to the group. Or if you feel more comfortable, you can do it in the chat feature as well. I've got that open too. So I really enjoy the STEAM Park ramps lesson. So each of the lessons are rated at the beginning, so 0 to 30 minutes, beginner, and pre-K to K, so that you have an idea. So you're all my kindergartners for today. So when we're looking at objects, there's several factors that could cause an object to roll or slide, beginning with a type of force. So some different types of force are a push or a pull. Gravity is also a force that pulls objects down towards the earth or down a slope. That's why as humans, we are fixed to the ground and we walk on the floor and we don't walk on the ceiling. The shape of an object affects how it moves down a slope. Objects like balls, which do not have corners or edges, so I've got a ball here, they roll rather than slide. But I also have another object here with some wheels, and we'll notice that this one travels a little bit differently than a ball if we were to look at them on two flat surfaces. If I were to apply a push to both objects, they would move differently. So if I were to push my little car that I have here, what do you think would happen? Yeah, Kayla.
I mean, it would go forward because you're applying force to it.
It would go forward. Great. What's going to happen if I were to kind of like throw this ball on the ground? What do you think would happen? It's going to probably bounce and then it's going to roll. What direction do we think it's going to roll in? It's going to roll to the right. It kind of depends how it lands. It's going to depend on the surface that it lands on, and it's also going to depend on the force that I put on it. Which way am I throwing it? So if I were to throw it this way, oh, lost my ball. Then it would travel to the right. If I were to throw it this way, it would probably travel to the left. I'm doing that reverse just because I think that's how you guys see me. Great. So, has anyone been to the park and gone down a slide? What happens when you use the slide? You go down. That's right, because of gravity. Gravity is the force that pulls objects down towards the earth. So that's why, like I said, that's why when we walk on the ground, we don't walk on the ceiling, because gravity is forcing us down. So I'm going to give you a little story about some of our characters at Steam Park. Parker, the park manager, wants to build a new ride for visitors to enjoy. He asks his neighbor, Miss Ingalls, and her grandson Artie, and Artie's friends Sienna and Matt to help. Let's build a ramp and some cars to ride down the ramp, Parker said. I have an idea. Let's place a line of numbers at the bottom of the ramp and guess how far the cars will roll. Great idea. We can try it out and see what works best, Miss Ingalls said. So for this specific activity, there is a template that we can use to track how far our cars are going to roll. But because we're on camera today, I'm not going to bother using them. We're just going to use the numbers. I do have a document camera, so I'm going to switch over to my document camera now so you guys can see what I have built. And I'm going to have to adjust this slightly. Oh, it's probably not high enough. All right, just bear with me for a moment while I try and get, I think I need some more height. Okay, so it's hard to see, but I have a few different ramps here built. 1, 2, 3. Number 3 needs to be added onto. And then again, it's going to be a little bit hard to see, but I do have I'm doing my best here. It's kind of, these Lego kits are quite large, so they're not too easy to show. So I got my car here, 4 wheels, and I'm going to place them. Let them go. So then I've also got these numbered. Let me show you these little numbered pieces. There's 0 through to 9. So our first ramp is fairly small, fairly short. How far do we think the first ramp is going to allow our car to travel? Any ideas? Not long. Not sure. Don't want to put a number to it just yet, but we don't think it's going to travel very far. We've got a number 5, someone is saying. Okay, now let's have a look-see. It actually went all the way to a 7. But I will admit that I'm running this on a table and I didn't want it to go off the table, so it hit the blocker at number 7. Oops. So I have a little graph here. So this is my first ramp and it went all the way to 7 is what we're going to say for the sake of this little mini demonstration. So my next ramp is here, this middle ramp, this one. And it is, I can tell you it's hard to see from this angle, but it is a little bit taller. It's also a much longer ramp. And it kind of has a slight S bend to it. So this first ramp here, I'm going to try and show you. It's just a regular downward curve. This one kind of has a little bit of an S shape to it. So how far do we think this one's going to go? We got a 10. I think if I allowed this one, it would probably go even further than a 10, I'm going to say. I'm going to have to block it off at the end just because I've got a little bit of limited space. This is a perfect activity to be doing on your floor. So I can tell you just by the sound of it that it hit the barrier with a lot more force than the first one did, probably because it was going faster. So then we would record our results in the table here. So then what they want you to do is they want you to combine your ramps. So combining ramp 1 and ramp 2 and then seeing what the response is there. And then combining ramp 1 with ramp 2 and then adding on ramp 3 as well. So each time our ramp is getting longer. Oops. So this ramp, personally, I'm not going to be able to run it just because it's actually longer than my table. Yeah, ideally we would want to move the numbers so that the number 1 is starting at the end of each ramp. I'm just a little bit limited on space. I probably could have done it for you guys on the floor. I would have just had to have built some type of tower for my document camera so that you could see everything. And the further away I am from the product that I am demonstrating on the document camera, the blurrier the image seems to be. That's how I had it set up originally, but it just wasn't really working very well. So yeah, so we would have to move our numbers so that they were at the end of the ramp. This ramp is the entire length of my 4-foot long table. But the idea is that, you know, the greater the force on the car, the further it would travel. I'm going to go back to my lesson plan. Oops, there we go. So, do we think that any of them could potentially roll past the number 10? I think so. I think it's definitely possible that the second ramp, the third ramp, and the fourth ramp could all go past number 10. So were your predictions correct? I would say yes in this case. And then did it become easier to predict where the car would be stopping after observing or watching what had happened a few times? So if you ran the same car down the ramp 3, 4, 5 times, do you think we could predict where it stops more accurately? Yeah, definitely. So at this point is where we would do the continue phase. So we could ask some different questions, and that would affect the direction that the students would take this next. So for example, why don't you try to choose one ramp and try and make the car go faster? So what are some ideas of how we could make our car go faster? I'm thinking I might just add some more blocks to it and see if I add more blocks, will the car go faster? How could you make the car go further? We could change the design of our ramp so it's more, it's sloped more down rather than having this kind of S-bend that it has to it. So making a steeper ramp. Or what are some other objects that we could use other than cars to test our ramps? So the kit itself comes with different balls. Yeah, the ball, great. But the other thing is maybe you've got some other small round objects in your classroom that you could use. What are some objects that you might find in your classroom that you might be able to use? Marbles, love that, thank you. You know when sometimes as a teacher you're asking a loaded question, you're looking for a specific answer? You guys nailed it, thank you for that. We don't have marbles. You could use ping pong balls. You could use a wooden or plastic cylinder. You could use, what else is pretty much anything that is round. I don't have either. Ice cubes, that could be an interesting one. I've never heard that one before, but you know, you can, there's nothing wrong with using ice cubes and Duplo together. Yeah, an ice cube would be square, but it's possible that, especially if it's melting, it still has a slippery nature to it. Yeah, so what if they melt? A crayon? I'm having a look in my desk drawer. What do I got here? I've got some little tree cookies. You could use play money. A water bottle could fit. Depends on the style of water bottle. As long as it's like a perfect cylinder, it would hang off a little bit on each side, but there's nothing wrong with that. The idea here is to kind of get creative and have your students play around with the model that they've built. And kind of just learn through playing. So, you know, the idea is that you could ask your students, what else could we put down our ramp? And let's say one of the students says, my pencil. Well, let's try it. Let's see. And then kind of using that that table to be able to evaluate what travels down the ramps more effectively. So I'm not going to show you the did you notice section, but I wanted to know just from this lesson itself, what are your students learning or experiencing? They're learning about forces and gravity and shapes. Yep. They're learning new vocabulary. I'm pretty sure forces and gravity are probably two new words for them and with new definitions. Yeah, we're going to talk about motion. That's a good one. Making predictions. Yes. Make what goes along hand in hand. We make predictions and then we analyze and record our results. So they're going to be looking at that as well. Anything language related. Yeah, scientific method overall, definitely. At a very kindergarten level, they probably don't know it as the scientific method, but we're trying to instill those habits in them at a young age. New terms, yep, new vocabulary. They're going to be observing what's happening and then also communicating what's happening. So the idea with a lot of these products is to have them pair up and explain what they're noticing to a teammate, to another peer in the classroom, or to yourself as the teacher, as the facilitator of the lesson. When you're asking them and prompting them with these questions, they're going to be communicating their responses. Very surprised they now teach kindergarten children gravity. We're not really teaching them the in depth about gravity, but we're introducing them to that term and that gravity is considered a force. It's more about introducing these different concepts. So that's it for me for today. An hour goes by super fast. I find that every time. If you have any questions for me, feel free to come off mute or drop them in the chat. If there's something I went over too quickly that you'd like me to show you again, I'm happy to do that also. And I hope to see you all in 2 weeks for our next Lego education webinar. We will be focusing on Brick Q Motion and Brick Q Essential, which is a new product for Lego education. Yeah, you're welcome, guys. Thanks for joining me. I really appreciate it. You guys were a very engaged group, which is nice to see.
Kristen.
Yeah, hey Keith.
Hey. A bit of a weird question.
Yeah.
I was following along on the education website there.
Yeah.
And they actually had a different, what do they call it? Inspiration card than I have in my set.
Really?
Yeah, but when you go to download it, it downloads the regular one. So it's showing one with like an airplane as the
I'm just gonna try and go back and see. Okay, so
so in the building and inspiration cards,
yeah.
do you see the one that's listed as 3A, 3B? It's got an airplane in the sky.
Oh, that's gotta be a mistake.
That's the thing, like I haven't seen that card before. But that's the thing, when you go to download it, it gives you the one that I have, which is the, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the card that I have too. I recognize it.
It's the thing, I didn't recognize the airplane one, so I'm just
They
wondering.
must have, you know what? It's probably just an image error. I'm gonna note that down. I'm gonna let Lego know. That image is from, I wanna say Coding Express, which is a different product.
I just wondered if they'd updated it or something and changed
No.
cards or
No.
something. Okay, cool.
Not to my knowledge. That's why you were like, it's different. I'm like, what? Wait, it hasn't been, it's too new to have had an update yet.
That's the thing. One of the moms did Discovery, and so I'm not really familiar with it, but it
Yeah.
didn't, right?
I mean, yeah, I'm pretty sure I recognize that image card, but I think it's from a different product altogether.
Okay.
It would be for, if I can get there. Resources. Yeah, my guess is that it's going to be building inspiration cards, the Coding Express one, because that's where they have that airplane land. Look, for
Is that it?
in 5B,
Okay.
under Coding Express, it's the exact same image. So they've just made a mistake there. I've noted it down. I'm going to let them know. That makes me feel great, Keith. I'm probably going to take credit for finding that because Lego doesn't make mistakes. They don't make mistakes very often. So it's really nice when you can be like, hey.
And I'm not coming to your thing in 2 weeks because I went to it last time and I already bought both sets. The kids love them.
Yeah, this one last time was more of a like just a general like introduction to the set. This one's going to be hopefully a little bit more in depth, but yeah, no, I get that. Nobody's going to attend them all because some of them are more primary, right? Some of them are more, you know, junior intermediate focused, and it just depends what grades you teach and if you're interested. It's just because it's the newest product. I thought, and our attendance each session is growing, which is a good thing. So I just want to make sure that I kind of do a repeat. There are going to be repeats, you know, that happen.
No, the kids love it. They're good sets. They really like
Great.
it. Yeah.
Do you want to run a session?
Did you get my We Do Too
I did.
email too?
I did, yes.
Okay.
And I saw
like that line follow one, I think is really cool as a transition if kids are going to EV3 or to Spike Prime.
Yeah, no, it is good.
And that guy does incredible stuff. But like I say, is like last year, he had it available for free and now he's charging for it, which kind of sucks. But I understand it too, as he's obviously put a lot of time into it. But
that's usually what happens, right? We offer content for free for a limited time to get an interest level and to kind of work the kinks out with the overall goal of having it be a revenue stream. So I'm not surprised to hear that, and good for them.
But it is cool stuff, like the stuff that he does. It is really well designed, and he gives the coding examples, which is really helpful too. Yeah. All right. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem, Keith. Thank you.